Hi friends, thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to draw a kiwi cheesecake from start to finish real time. This means I'll show you how to make the initial sketch, how to color, add details, and juicy highlights. If you want to skip the initial sketch and go right to the coloring, you can find freebie outlines on my Patreon page, link is in the description, and use time codes for coloring. So let's get started. I'm gonna be drawing on a Bristol paper. This one is 185 GSM and Copic alcohol marker. For the initial sketch, I'm gonna be using mechanical graphite pencil and a kneaded eraser. So I'm starting off with the approximate size of the whole illustration. I'm marking its height and width. So now I'm making a rough outline of slightly tilted rectangle. I'm drawing the front edge first, then angling the sides upward slightly to create a 3D effect. The shape is not perfectly horizontal, it's angled a bit to give a sense of perspective. It's a soft perspective, just enough tilt to make the slice look natural and not too flat. Okay, so body of the cheesecake is done, and I would like to make it a little bit higher, so I'm making the jam layer on top. Erasing all the unneeded lines. Now it's time to add a cookie crust. This is very easy, just draw an even line parallel to your bottom sides. Mapping out round shapes for my kiwi slices. The right one is first. I'm making it a little bit tilted and showing its thickness. Not forgetting about the central part. Now the left kiwi slice, and it a little bit overlaps the previous one. Making it the same way, sketching the oval shape and adding thickness to it and the center. And the third slice on top, it's barely visible, so I'm making just a small shape. And the last kiwi slice, and I'm making it the same way, shaping the oval form, showing thickness and adding the center. Slightly sketching out cast shadows from the kiwi slice and from the cheesecake. At this stage, you can sketch out the places where the seeds are to make it right from the perspective. Now this is a good thing to step back from the sketch and look at it, correct mistakes and make final touches. Grabbing my kneaded eraser and lightening my sketch. Now it's time to pick colors for our illustration. I think I'll start with the greens. And as always, I'm going from the lightest colors to darkest. So my lightest green is gonna be G40. Best greens for this illustration, the ones that have a little bit of yellow in it. And my second color is G43. And my darkest green for this illustration, this one is not actually very dark, is G46. Okay, now let me sign them for you real quick. Just a friendly reminder that you can use any brand of alcohol markers that you have. Just pick similar colors, but make sure values are correct. If my green is very light, you can have a green of slightly different shade, for example, not that yellow or even more yellowish. That's totally fine. Just make sure it's as light as mine. So now I'm picking the colors for the cheesecake body, and my lightest color is very light sand beige E40. The second color is E42 and the third color E43. These are such beautiful sand beige colors. I love them so much. The next row of colors is for the cookie crust, and my lightest color, this is light beige ochre color E31, and the second color is E33. It is slightly darker. And the darkest color, I'm actually grabbing here warm brown, which is E37. And for the kiwi seeds, I'm gonna be using dark neutral gray, which is N7. I'm also gonna be using some stuff for the highlights. So the first one is Posca pen in white. The second one is a white gel pen, Sakura Jelly Roll, and the last one is white colored pencil by Carandache Luminance. At this point, I forgot about the cast shadows from the kiwi slice and the cheesecake, so later I'll add 2 more grays and 1 and then 3. These are light neutral grays. So here you can see all the colors and products I'm gonna be using for this illustration. So let's start the fun part, coloring. I'm grabbing my super light sand beige color, E40, and filling in the centers of the kiwi slices. Grabbing my lightest green G40 and filling in the rest of the kiwi slices. We'll get the jam a little bit later in order not to get confused. The base color is done, and now I'm grabbing my second green color, G43, and filling in the shadowed parts. Adding kiwi textures where the seeds are gonna be. And doing the same thing with the rest of the kiwis. Now I want to blend layers gently, so I'm going back to my previous color G40 and blending all the mid-tone green. To add depth and volume, I'm grabbing my darkest green, G46, and going over the darkest parts. Also adding this color to the places where the seeds are gonna be. To blend everything nicely, I'm going back to my previous mid-tone green G43 and blending my darker color. Going back to my lightest green G40 and going over some places of the kiwi slices, darkening and smoothing it out. Now it's time for the seeds, so I'm grabbing my dark neutral gray N7 and placing the seeds right on the dark strokes. Try to put them here and there and not make them too uniformed. Now I want to add some texture and highlights, so I'm grabbing my white colored pencil and placing gentle strokes between the places where the seeds are. Now I want to give those slices juicy highlights, so I'm grabbing my Posca pen and adding dotting motions to add the shine. Going over all of the kiwis. Taking my gel pen, it is smaller, and I made in some individual strokes. Now it's time for the kiwi jam. I'm grabbing my lightest green G40 and filling in all of the jam layer with this color. To build up values, grabbing my second green G43 and adding to some parts, not covering everything and leaving some highlights. Grabbing my darkest green and layering it to the darkest parts. It's time to blend the dark color, so I'm grabbing my mid-tone green G43 and blending this dark shade. Going back to my dark green and enhancing some shadows. Grabbing my previous mid-tone green and blending dark tone as well. Grabbing my lightest green G40 and going over the cut parts of the kiwis to add some textures. Taking my gel pen and adding highlights to the gem. Switching to my white colored pencil and adding a little bit more subtle reflections with it. Going back to my gel pen and enhancing highlights even more. Grabbing my darkest green and adding it right next to the highlights. This will help make them pop. Now at this point, when the gem is done, I can see that my kiwi slices are a little bit too light and lack of contrast, so I'm grabbing my mid-tone green G43 and adding it to some cut parts of the kiwi slices. Grabbing my lightest green G40 and blending the previous mid-tone. Taking my mid-tone green G43 and going over the side parts of the slices and darkening them a little bit. Okay, now I think the kiwi and gem part is done, and now it's time for the body of the cheesecake. Taking my very light sand beige color E40 and covering the whole highlighted part of the cheesecake. You don't really need to have super smooth coverage. In fact, leave more textures. This will help to show creamy texture of the cheesecake. Now that I filled in this part, I'm adding additional textures. At this point, I want to add cheesecake textures, so I'm grabbing my next sand beige color E42 and adding some dots and wiggly spots. Adding shadow from the slice on the cheesecake body. Going back to my previous color E40 and going over some of these textures to blend them in. Going back my second beige color E42 and enhancing the textures at some places and the shadow from the slice. I'm taking this same color and filling in the shadowed part of the cheesecake body. And same here with the textures, adding some irregular strokes. Darkening this part right next to edge with this same color. Now it's time to add textures to the shadowed parts, so I'm grabbing my darkest sand beige color E43 and making the same colors as on the highlighted part. Going back to previous base color E42 and blending those textures just a little bit. Grabbing my base color for the highlighted part and adding some textures. Now I feel the need to enhance the shadow from the kiwi slice, and I'm grabbing my darkest sand color E43 and adding it right next to the slice, and then blending it with the second color E42. Now I'm taking my white colored pencil and also adding some textures. They are subtle and slightly seen, but they are there and they are adding to the whole picture. I feel like I need to enhance highlights on the gem, so I'm grabbing my thick white Posca pen and adding more white for the more gloss. Moving on to the cookie crust, I'm grabbing my light ochre color E31 and filling in the crust on the highlighted part. Grabbing my next ochre color E33 and adding it to the shadowed part from the kiwi slice and to the shadowed part of the cookie crust. With the same color, I'm adding dots and textures to the cookie crust on the highlighted area. Grabbing my warm brown and adding it to the shadowed part from the kiwi slice and a little bit to the highlighted area of the cookie crust and to the shadowed area, but a little bit more. Going back to my mid-tone ochre color E33 and adding the textures on the highlighted area. Moving to the shadowed part and adding this color there as well. Going back to my brown color and building up volume for the shadowed part, especially at the very bottom part. Adding to the highlighted area at the bottom part, but just a little bit less. Adding more crumbly textures with my mid-tone ochre color E33. And now adding highlights and enhancing textures with my white colored pencil and making some dots on all the cookie crust. Grabbing my light ochre color E31 and adding it to the both sides. Taking my warm brown color and adding it to the shadowed part from the kiwi. Want to enhance the cast shadow from the slice, so I'm grabbing my darkest sand color E43. At this point, I've realized that I forgot to add the colors for the cast shadow. So here I am adding two neutral gray colors, light ones, N1 and N3. You can use any grays you have. Cool grays are also great, and warm grays are also an amazing option. So let's add the final touch and ground this illustration. And I'm going to start with my lightest gray N1. At first is the cast shadow from the slice. And moving on to the shadow from the cheesecake. Taking my next darker color N3 and enhancing the shadows. Going back to my lighter gray N1 and softening the transition. Now I need to wait a few seconds before the ink dries. If I'll apply the color right away, the color will appear a little bit lighter because it will dissolve in the non-dried ink. So now when the base layer is dry, I'm grabbing my N3 and adding it right where the object meets the surface. And that way the color will appear a little bit darker. Okay, now I think it's dark enough. Just grabbing my light gray N1 and making the shadow just a little bit longer. This is optional, but if you want your shadow vanish into the white paper, you can grab colorless blender and go over the edge of the shadow. This will give you the smoothest transition. And there you have it, realistic illustration of a glossy kiwi cheesecake with alcohol markers. Want more useful and easy to follow tutorials like this? Check out my Patreon page, link is in my bio. Thank you so much for watching, I'll see you next time and happy sketching!